Listen, today we're going to learn how to control the golf ball at the very highest level. And I'm going to teach you how to do it. Let's dive. All right, guys, welcome in to the Elite Golf School's Sim Studio Room. And today we are going to talk about how to control the golf ball at like extremely elite levels. Like you see these guys on tour and how they command the golf ball. It's sometimes remarkable how well they can command the ball. They need to hit a little tight draw or command like trajectory, how much energy they're putting on the golf ball. They do it at levels that are obviously the best in the world. And so the question then is like, well, how and why and how are they doing this? And what's really fun, and the reason that I love a systems-based approach to understanding the golf swing, is because number one, you understand just a general way to command the golf club as it relates to the body. So in general, you hit better shots. And there's a number of different ways to go about doing that. However, then there's this conversation, like we have, you hear all these silly phrases, right? Like, hey, trust the process. You just work on your golf swing like in training, and then you don't think about it when you go out and play. And like there's all this just honestly false information out there that doesn't really serve the player. Like 10,000 hours to master something. That's not true. We know this is not true. The old myelin pathways in your mind never friggin' go away. What you can do is create new highways that work better for you in commanding the golf club and the golf ball. You can do that, but just understand that the old pathway never goes away. Okay, getting back on track here, how to command the golf ball at these elite levels. Well, number one, when you're working on technique, and if you're new to our channel, definitely take a look at a lot of our just kind of basic understandings of golf swing. It'll take you through this idea of like potentially the difference between a swinger type pattern and a hitter type pattern, and the difference between those two, because you look at like Victor Hovland or Neiman or Mito, those kinds of athletes, and then you take a look at other athletes like Webb Simpson, Jimmy Walker, players that look like that, and they're quite different, really. Now they're still able to command the ball, but they look different. So how and why is that the case? Right? That's the question. And so what I'm going to take a deeper dive into today is more of a hitter type pattern. And just real quick crash course on this, like a hitter pattern, we are defining this as a player who maintains this hip flexion or pelvic drop and is very thoracic in their rotation through the hit. If you're going to do that, the golf club has to move in this space, like whatever you want to call this, negative alpha, coronal plane movement. Shallowing is potentially a good way to think of this, but it moves, we're actively moving the golf club over here so that I can drop my pelvis and turn my chest, and this becomes the pattern. So I think this video will give a hell of a lot more insight on why we really prefer that type of a model, or at least certain aspects of that model, in order to command the golf ball. So with that being said, I'm going to kind of go about this in a different way, where I'm going to hit a bunch of balls today. And the first few reps here, I'm going to throw some like kind of training style reps, little one-to-one actions here in the ratio, just energy here to energy forward, just to kind of get my system going. So I'm here, organize, and just you'll notice that I'm just pitching some shots out there. Now I've got 7-iron for this. You can do this with any club, and I mean honestly, folks, if you're struggling with driver, you should have driver in your hand, getting this system incorporated. Now, all I'm focusing really is just on where the club, particularly the club head, is moving in relation to my body. So as I turn over towards the camera, I'm going to send the club up my body line here. Okay, now from here I'm going to feel a little drop in the pelvis. Definitely let the trunk start to rotate forward. You'll notice where the club wants to pitch. So where am I actively going to move it in relation to what my body's doing? It's right in here. So these reps are just going, I'm here, I'm there, and then I'm just pitching it forward, just to kind of get my system in general organized. So these are really low energy reps. As you start to sense that, you can absolutely increase the energy. Now I've already warmed up a little bit, so I'll just throw one out there. And this will just be a rep, guys, that we don't care necessarily what the golf ball is doing. I'm not trying to move the golf ball in any particular direction. I'm not trying to make it go dead forward. I'm just getting in system. In system means that I'm managing where the golf club is moving in relation to my body. So very simply again, can I rotate my trunk both away and towards the target? Between those actions, can I drop a bit in the pelvis? While I'm doing that, can the club move in space as we want it? Now again, this is just kind of a crash course on this. We've got tons of videos on this channel that go deeper into that. And so I don't want to spend a ton of time on that today, but here's a higher energy wave. Here, there. Now again, fairly good shot. Golf ball's generally forward, and that's about as much energy as I can put into my personal system while managing that move. And so that's my full swing. So here we go. Now, 3 general variables, if you will, on how to command the golf ball. Okay, so number 1, we've got energy amounts in your golf swing. Now, we're fortunate enough to work with a touring professional that a couple of years ago roomed with another pro who now plays on the PGA Tour. Won't name names here, but in essence, the story that I'm told, which is freaking amazing, it's amazing how deep they can command the golf ball on tour. And again, this whole video is about how we precisely manage the golf ball. He would start his practice session, he'd do this 1 time a week. He'd start from 30 yards and hit every yard, landing yardage, all the way to 224. Now think about how precise that is. 30 yards. He's just going to rep it until he lands it at 30, then go to 31, 32, 33, blah, 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 blah. Amazing, right? And obviously when he's starting with lob wedge, and then once he maxes out lob wedge, say it's 100 yards, now he goes to sand wedge 101, all the way until that maxes out, then go to gap wedge and all the way through 4-iron. The way to do this, like within this system, okay, and every single one of these different variables that I'm about ready to cover, there are so many constants. Setup will be a constant. The start of our backswing will be a constant. Transition, for the most part, getting into delivery will be a constant. And whatever you want to call delivery, maybe P5, P5.5, all fine. It's somewhere in here where I've finished my fully loaded phase. I'm in the fully loaded position, whatever you want to call it at that point in space. And so now I can go ahead and start unloading the golf club. So setup constant, backswing constant, transition constant. Now here's where the variable lies, is how I manage the hit. And everything we're doing, guys, from the address position to the start of the backswing, working the golf club and my body in a way in this transitionary time, now it allows me to really command the golf ball in here. So energy amounts is simply, can I take the instrument, the golf club, and put energy on an object? In this case, obviously it's a golf ball. If I had a sledgehammer in a wall, an axe in a tree, it would all be the same general concept. So let's start with this analogy of axe and a tree. And let's say I've got 2 trees standing side by side. One's an aspen tree, and the next one over here is going to be a sequoia. Now, if I give somebody an axe and I say, go ahead and just chip away at the aspen tree, how much energy from this loaded position am I going to put into that aspen? Now my arms are going to go ahead and hit. My body's obviously going to go ahead and turn, but I'm sure not going to go full ham hock and just nail this thing, because I'd knock the whole thing over. I asked you to chip at the tree, not just frickin' slice right through it. So if I'm back in here, boom, what's the pressure that I'm going to put on that aspen with that axe? And then next, I want you to go ahead and full ham hock this sequoia tree, so we're going to knock it over. How much energy would you put in that system? Now, here's the play around. To start with this, I'd encourage you just to start with energy waves of 1s, 2s, and 3s. 3 is as much energy as you can put within the confines of this system, and that's a full shot. Then we can dial it down to 2, which is obviously less energy. and then to 1, which is less energy under that. So let's start with the 3, and we'll build off of this. So this is all energy and ball flight distance management here. Okay, pretty good rep right there. And we'll just see what the numbers are. So we'll use foresight numbers here on the quad. We have it set up for our athletes where we have sea level yardages, and then here in Denver we're at about a mile high, 5280. Okay, so I've got 188 in the air right here. Now, all I'm going to manage here is really the sensation of, once I get into delivery, what's the pressure that I'm going to put on the ball? It's the same map of movement. I'm just lessening the amount of energy into the ball and the pressure that I'm going to put on the ball. So this will be at a 2. So still a little bit more energy than I wanted to put in there, but we'll see what the numbers say. In the air, we've got 176. So we went from 188 to 176. Now we'll throw it down to a 1. And again, these are precise, so it probably doesn't look like these are like crazy different from one another. And that's a 1 energy. Now you notice again, hopefully the golf ball is responding in a manner where it doesn't look like it's moving all that far and all that much. Okay, and in the air here, we've got 174. So obviously those last 2 numbers are a little bit too close together. So this is the cool part of practicing. Obviously I threw too much of a wave on that particular rep. Let's dial it down just a little bit. A little chippy went into that aspen. See how we did. Now hit fairly well. It still feels like quite a bit of wave, but we'll see the number here. Okay, great, did a better job, 166 in the air. Now again, just the eye test of those 4 balls, they probably look fairly similar to one another. That's what we want. We don't want anything that's like substantially different than the system or the golf swing that you have built. But look at the difference in being able to command the ball. 188, 176, 166. Those are pretty big spreads right there, but you need that at times because, 1, you want to lessen the trajectory or really the ball speed that's coming off, so the apex of the ball might be a little bit less. That's really good for wind shots into the wind. We don't want as much spin because now it starts to ride up into the wind and we start to lose command of the golf ball. So understanding and managing the amount of energy and the amount of pressure that you're able to put onto the golf ball is a huge trait if you want to increase your ability to command the ball when you're out playing, but it's still through the same system. So 1 variable, energy. Next variable. This has to do, and this is maybe one of my favorite aspects of this system, is what we're looking for is to manage the face of the golf club through the hit. If I can't do that, I can't play high-level golf, period. If I can't control where that golf ball starts off, just the pressure direction that I'm putting on the golf ball, you are massively limited in this game. So this variable is all will have to do with trajectory management, the launch angle that the golf ball is initially starting off. Now, most people, what you'll see is if they want to hit it high, they'll swing it to the top of their swing, tilt massively to get underneath it, and this is how we hit it high. To hit it low, they'll just pin this and squash it this way. So look how much my body system changed. In general, we want the pelvis, the femurs, spine, ribs, everything in my proximal, meaning closest to my center, to be very, very stable, meaning that there's not a whole lot of chaos in there. 1 rep to the next shouldn't be different. Maybe slight amounts, which we'll get into here on our 3rd variable, but to the naked eye, it's gonna be very difficult to see the differences there. So when we're looking at this, like, we want to manage the trajectory of the golf club based on, so we've got a constant here at setup, constant in the start of the backswing, and then we're constant here at delivery. Now, from here, if I just send the arms and the hands and start unloading early, look at the dynamic loft of the golf club. See how the club is pitched here? But look, I still have commanded the face. I have command over the face. I'm not tumbling this thing out. That's the danger of going here, because now if I tilt, the only way that I square it is to roll the arms. Now I have no face stability whatsoever. So the map still here, guys, and this is maybe our anatomy lesson for the day, is through my rib cage. If I just cut my rib cage in half this way, this is called the transverse plane, so it'd cut me in half from above and below this equator. Now, notice when I'm just in standing position, this transverse plane points out here. As I start to drop the pelvis more and more and more, look at where the transverse plane starts to point down and out to where the golf ball is. So the hit, as I'm dropping here, the main purpose of the pelvic drop is to keter my trunk so now it faces the golf ball. Perpendicular to my trunk, relatively or reasonably, that transverse plane starts to point. It starts to point here. That's why maintaining your height here is dangerous, because the only way that I get to the golf ball is by lowering the arms, and the way that I square it is by lowering the arms and then rolling the arms through the hit. So you lose the face that way. You can hit it both directions in crazy amounts, which we don't want. We want soft movers, if anything. So if I'm getting into transition, from here, my job is to hit out of my chest on this transverse plane. So if I drop into delivery and I send the arms and the hands, look at how now I still have control over the face, but the dynamic loft is increased there. So this ball should go higher. So this will just be kind of a slower rep, maybe about a 2.5 on our pace, and we'll early unload it and we'll see what happens to the launch angle. So we can see, just even by looking at the golf ball here on that ribbon, can absolutely see that golf ball launched in the air. We'll see what our launch angle actually is. Drum roll, please. 19 degrees. So that's a 19-degree launch angle with 7-iron. Now at the same time, this is so freaking cool. This is why I love this system so much. Address, constant. Backswing, constant. Transition, delivery, constant. Now, the handle is still generally in front of me. See how the club head is over here on my trail side for me as a right-handed player? It's on my right side. Well, what if I just kept that club head back there and I just rotated my chest and my pelvis to get into the golf ball? Oh, looky there. I still have command of the face. It's still pointing in the target direction. So what I'm feeling here, guys, is that once the club's over here on my trail side, I've got the club face and my chest both pointing generally in the same direction. So if I just motored my chest and turned my chest to the strike, now my chest faces the target and the club face faces the target. But what happened to the dynamic loft? Boom. By the way, dynamic loft simply means the loft of the golf club at the moment of the strike. Okay, so as it's dynamically working through the hit, what's that loft that's presented to the golf ball? Obviously there, it's much lower than it is if I get into delivery and send the arms and the hands. But in both systems, I still control the face, so you never lose directionality of the golf ball. So let's hit one here, again at the same general energy of about 2.5, but my map is going to be, once I get this golf club in here, I'm just going to turn my chest to square it, and we'll see what the dynamic loft looks like. Now obviously I covered a little bit too much, a little bit over it right there, so I tugged it. Okay, but we'll take a look at what the launch angle is. Obviously we can see it on that red ribbon that it's lower. That's a 13-degree launch. I'll hit one more just to get my directions a little better there. A little better. Now, my high launch rep, early with the arms, early with the hands, launched at 19. I just had 13. This one launched at 15.9. So obviously we can launch that golf ball lower here, which is the whole idea, the whole mapping. Now again, you'll see in all of these shots, like I'm gonna have a pretty tight thresholds. We don't have like this, like, I'm not doing anything. I didn't put the ball back. I didn't choke up on it. I didn't get on top of the golf ball to flatten out the flight. These are all from standard or stock setup positions. So we should see our thresholds like medium flight might be 17. Then I go low, 16, 15, 14, somewhere in there, but not crazy. I'm not launching it at 7. And then I go high, ooh, 19. So it's right around this stock mid-flight. But the point here is, if I can hit one a little higher, a little bit lower, manage energies, and I'm about ready to get to our third variable here, golly, you know where stock is. You know where stock is. So, third variable, where the golf ball starts and potentially where it bends. Now, before I get into this, our alignment here for draws, cuts, blocks, pulls is always going to be constant. I'm never cheating with my alignment. We'll start with more of a ball flight that starts right of my alignment target. And if I do that, what I'd like you to just better understand here, and you can just say it along with me, if I've got the golf club, or if I've got the golf ball starting off to the right, what ball flight am I really calling into action here? If I pressure this golf ball this way, will it have a tendency to fall to the right or fall to the left? The answer is fall to the left, because if I've got the path and all the energy working out here to the right, I've got a right path, generally speaking, to the face. Again, there's a lot that goes into this. For this simple little exercise right here and just commanding the golf ball, I'm not going to go into D-plane and all the craziness that goes into controlling ball flight when it comes to curvature. But what I'm looking at is, can I pressure the ball over here and it either stays there or it can fall left? The key is I don't pressure it over here and it falls right. Okay, so two variables within this variable. The small change here, and we talked about how proximal stuff is all very, very stable, meaning that it's moving in the same manner no matter what I'm doing in my golf swing, okay? In general, we're wanting that, okay? So from this distal approach, meaning what my hands are doing, I can manage where this golf club, the club head, is moving into delivery. So if I want to pressure it out here, I sure don't want that golf club up here, because the way that I'm getting into the strike, obviously that's going to throw energy left. That sure ain't going to start it right. So I want the golf club a bit deeper. Notice I'm not saying the handle deeper, I'm saying the club a little bit deeper. And again, there's numerous different videos on our channel that show how to do this. So what I'm just going to say is, you're going to have awareness of where that club is moving into delivery, so it's deeper. And now if I turn, look at where that club is pressuring. It's pressuring out to the right. That's where it's going to tend to path. Now, number two, I want the rib cage. So if, let's say that I have an oar, okay, like a paddle, sticking right out of my rib cage right at the camera, but notice where my shoulder axis is. So another anatomy lesson, if I had a plane that just cut me right in half from my anterior side to my posterior side, this is the coronal plane, and I'm talking specifically to the rib cage here, not anything else, coronal plane through the rib cage. So if I had this oar sticking out of my rib cage here on this coronal plane, and I wanted to throw a wave of energy out to the right, I could modify the pivot or the rotational energy of where that rib cage is moving. So notice if I have this oar right here, let's say that I'm in a pool that's up to like clavicle level or right at my neck level, and I went, all right, throw a wave over here. So I wanted that ripple of energy to go over here. I could do that here as opposed to straight or left, which we'll get to here in just a moment. Now, will this change a bit? Sure, but passively, because this commands it to do so, okay? So this will modify based on what's going on in here. So for this right wave, I'm going to manage two things. Where the club head is at delivery, so it's going to be deeper, meaning back here under the plane more. And from here, I'm going to throw a wave of energy through my rib cage out to the right. Okay, and we'll see how we can manage this ball flight here. So again, straight at my alignment target, not cheating at all. So you can see where that golf ball started. And I didn't even try to make the golf ball draw, but you can see how that golf ball falls in left back at my target. Now, the rule is, if you pressure the ball in any direction, it should never run into trouble in that direction. So if I pressured it to the right there and it stayed there, that would be completely fine. But you'll also notice that ball didn't blinker mode go across the screen. I'm not tilting, rolling my arms, trying to do crazy stuff in the hit to try to make that ball move left. All I'm doing, I'll hit one more shot here where the energy is pressured out to the right. I'm getting the club deeper and controlling the pivot and the ribs. Let's do that again. So this is a good one to see because I pressured it out of the right. That one didn't move. So for this particular shot, again, I'm controlling the pressure on the golf ball, and I really encourage you. I don't want you to go about this from the standpoint of I have to hit draws and fades. I want you to go about it from the standpoint of I need to throw a pressure wave to the right. And if the ball moves back left for right-handed players, okay, fine, but it's no big deal if it doesn't. Number two, if I wanted to start one left of my target, you know where I'm going with this. Same setup, that's a control, same early start to my golf swing. Now when I'm organizing here in transition, the club head I'm just going to have more on top of the plane here. And then from here, a little tighter wave or tighter pivot, so I'm going to throw that wave to the left. So we'll see if we can do this. So you can see where that golf ball starts. That one happened to cut as well, so a little pull cut. So commanding movement in the golf ball is through either block draws or pull cuts, or simply blocks and pulls. It's totally fine. Now here's where it gets really fun. So there's our three variables. I can layer these however I want depending on the shot that I need to hit. So what if I wanted to throw an energy wave of 2 with a lower ball flight and a right wave? Controlling energy, controlling the ball flight, controlling wave direction. So there's a lower ball, starts a little bit to the right, falls back in. We'll see how far I threw that one first. We'll go energy first. I threw the ball 171. If you remember, my level of 2 was 176 before, so right in the ballpark. You can see the energy direction that I threw it in, and you can see the launch angle there. Launched at 15. What if I wanted to hit a left high 1? Organizing where that golf club is, organizing under how the golf club is unloading, and the wave direction. Little chunk toey, but generally got it done. Golf ball starts off left. We'll see the height that it launched at, and we'll also see how far I threw it. Now I mishit the heck out of that. That's a 130-yard carry, so way off of my number because I mishit the heck out of it, but I still launched it at 17.9. High ball. Point is, guys, number one, it's freaking fun. Now I can take the system that I've built and throw it into commanding the ball. This is like the best of both freaking worlds. Through my system, I'm commanding the golf ball. So the shot and the swing become one, which is like everything in playing the game at a high level. So you don't like work on your golf swing when you're training, and then when you go out and play, you don't think about anything. That's BS, man. That's a cop-out. Okay, but the other fun thing within this is if you want to know where mid-flight straight balls live, you need to know how to command trajectories at high levels and how to command pressuring the golf ball right or left of that center point at high levels. If you know that, I should be able to throw a mid-flight center field wave here and hit a good one. Little covery right there, but if I know that, I can absolutely manage this. So if that ball goes out to the left, okay, I'm not commanding the golf club through the hit, right? I'm losing the face. So I need more of a transverse plane hit, a little better pivot through the hit with my ribs, and I can control the golf ball. This is awesome. Because now, if I'm in this map, funny enough, obviously I'd love to just throw like a mid-flight one right there and go, oh, look at that. If this happens where you're off, I mean, I just hit that right on the hosel. If I miss it, I can absolutely go back to some one-to-one training paces and really control where the golf club is in relation to my body. A little one-to-one, it's there, there. Now I'm back in system. And now get back into looking to control the golf ball here. And if you know us, you know about what we call triad training. We have all of our junior students and all of our high-level students really understand how to command that training, those training principles, whether I'm building my technique or I'm commanding the golf ball through that technique. When I lose the command of the ball, I can always go back and build my golf swing back up. So if I do that once or twice and I'm back in system, now I can throw another center field wave. That's perfect. So now I've got one that's back in it. What's really cool, and again, funny enough, very, very happy that I was able to like miss two, like a little cover hook and then a hosel on the very next one, so that I can show you how to get back in system and then send a good one. You can absolutely do that at any time. And that maybe is a different topic for a different video, but a lot going on in this video. But I think what it'll do is give you so much more of a sense of how to control the golf ball based on the golf swing that you've built. And please, guys, please ask any questions that you may have on any of these topics. If you have further questions on how to hit draws, control ball flights, how much energy, something that's even off topic, off of this video, drop it in the comments below. And I'd love to answer those questions. It also really helps me when it comes to me scheduling out the videos and the content that we're gonna push. Because this content, all of it, is just to help you. My wish in life is to help you play better golf and enjoy this game at a higher level. So thanks so much for watching. Please tune back in anytime, ask any questions at any time. I'd be honored to help you work on this game or your game with you. See you soon.